Are you ready to alter your life? Because that's what's about to happen. If you're looking for a judgment-free zone where TMI doesn't exist, to have the conversations you're not supposed to have, and explore how to make small yet substantial, sustainable changes in your life to actually care for and empower yourself through physical and emotional fitness, then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Alyssa Alter, MOMDON, the Amy Poehler of vaginas, author, speaker, coach, former Broadway performer, certified Pilates instructor, pelvic health expert, comedian, co-founder of postpartum.com, mom on the mend, and board certified doctor of nothing. I believe that if we put as much time, energy, and discipline on our insides as we do our outsides, we'll be unstoppable. Hello and welcome back. I am so happy to be here with you. And as you probably know, but maybe not, I'm pregnant. Yep. I am pregnant with baby number 2. And if you listened to last week's mini episode, Your Q, My A, you know that I answered a very popular question that I've been very respectfully asked about how I plan to birth this baby since last time was awful. And I have spoken so openly about my traumatic birth experience, and I really was so moved by how people reached out to me with concern and compassion and an open mind where I felt really supported, and I want to thank you for that. And people were asking, about this in a variety of different ways. And from different perspectives. How did I move through the trauma, the PTSD, anxiety, fear, and everything that came along with sustaining a 4th-degree tear and the repair from that and the healing? And how was I able to handle that, move through it, to be able to courageously move towards pregnancy again, which will hopefully, if everything goes well, right, lead to a birth? And I answered that question in last week's mini episode. And if you haven't listened to it yet, this is your invitation to do so. So here I am. I'm pregnant with baby number 2. I am so happy to tell you that I'm now in my 2nd trimester and I feel alive again. Thank God. And that first trimester is a lot. And in today's episode, I'm going to share with you a whole bunch of things that have come up for me within this first trimester of my 2nd pregnancy. But before we dive into that, I want to share a couple of things. 1, right now, as I'm recording this episode, if you are watching it on YouTube, you will see that I am still in my Brooklyn closet. But when you listen to this episode, I will no longer live in Brooklyn. That's right. We bought a house. And when you listen to this episode, I will be residing in the dirty Jers. That's right. We bought a house. I thought I would never leave Manhattan. And then I met Jeremy and I moved to Brooklyn. And that was fine because it's still New York City. And New York City, I would never leave. And now she's back in the motherland, New Jersey. And I'm really excited. There will be more on how the move actually goes. And, as I'm preparing for it now, as I'm recording, I feel like there are so many things I should be feeling in that I want to be feeling them, kind of. Or they're thoughts and feelings that I always expected would be part of this. That what I'm realizing, though, is that, something I already know, you can't process something while you're experiencing it, right? All of those feelings and things that I think I should be, that I'm waiting for, are going to happen over time and in their own timeline. I cannot force them to happen, which is great and also annoying because I like to control things. Okay. So, if you want to get more up to date what's going on with the move from Brooklyn to the suburbs, all of that, definitely check out my Substack over at alteryourlife.substack.com, where, I mean, you should go there anyway because I'm posting really great stuff. I mean, I think so. Otherwise, why would I post it? But that's the feedback I've been getting. So I'm sharing that from what I think are objective audience members and friends aren't that objective, but you know what I'm saying. And go ahead and subscribe so that you stay up to date on all things alter your life, altering my life, altering your life, Pilates for your privates, what the hell's going on with your vag, including but not limited to the things that you deserve to know about your body, what's going on in my neck of the woods, and just staying generally up to date on things like my new one-woman show. That's right. She's doing it again. One night only, Thursday, February 16th, 2023, which feels so strange to say, at 7 p.m. at Green Room 42 in New York City. I am so pumped, and I am beyond thrilled to share with you We Party. Hashtag This is Motherhood. Now, the last time I met you like this in a one-woman show, I performed it at the Duplex in New York City in Greenwich Village, and for that show, I sang at you about divorce and dating and making your own party. This time, in this show, you can expect to hear the truth about motherhood, what inspired me to walk back into the fire for round 2, meaning this second pregnancy, and obviously, because it's me, there will be butt stuff. There will also be song and dance and a bouncing baby bump, and one caveat, do not expect to enjoy every moment like everyone tells you to, because you definitely won't. Now, if you want to check out my previous show, Me Party, hashtag I Love My Life. Yes, Me Party was the first show, and this one is We Party. Get it? Because I was like single then, and now I have a family, and I'm a mom of almost 2 babies. I guess 2 babies, because this is a baby in my belly, but it's in my belly and not outside. Anyway, you get the idea. Excuse me. Okay, We Party, hashtag This is Motherhood. One night only, Thursday, February 16th, 7 p.m. at Green Room 42. If you are in the area, tickets are now available, and if you're not in the area, don't worry. If you live outside of a reasonably commutable distance to New York City's Midtown Theater District, there are tickets available to watch virtually. So you don't even have to leave your house. You don't have to put pants on. The link to the tickets and more information about the show is in the show notes. Okay, this show has been in the works in my brain for years. And the moving out of the city plus the impending birth of another baby really made me feel like this is something I have to do. I need to do. I need to tell these stories now because, well, there's about to be a whole other story coming through, right? When I wrote, produced, and performed my first one-woman show, Me Party, hashtag I Love My Life, an evening of song about divorce, dating, and making your own party, writing that show helped me process, organize, and tie up that chapter of my life with a gorgeous bow, which allowed me to move forward in my life with clarity, perspective, appreciation, and a healthy dose of humor. And I am finding that writing this show, writing We Party, this writing process has also been super cathartic. Like when I was writing Me Party, those first few drafts that you will never see because nobody should ever see them helped me sort out just all of the junk, all of the internalized beliefs, all of the things to really get to my my real lessons, really get to my mistakes, really get to my triumphs. And last time, right, then I did a bunch of drafts and presented later drafts to you. And last time, it seems like you picked up what I was laying down. So my hope is that this will happen again this time, that as I write this show and work through my stuff and make sense of things and organize it and have have this additional perspective around it, I can tie up this chapter of my life where I am the mother to Everett, full stop, and we're a family of 3, to really intentionally, with clarity, with perspective, with appreciation, with a healthy dose of humor, move into the next chapter of my life where we are a family of 4. So again, the link is in the show notes for show info and tickets, and feel free to share that information with a friend, make an evening of it, and a reminder to go check out alteryourlife.substack.com, which the link to that is also in the show notes, so that you can stay up to date on what's going on and never miss a thing. Okay, now back to our regularly scheduled programming about my first trimester of this pregnancy. Now, I am never going to deny that there are so many things about pregnancy and motherhood that are pure magic. We literally make human beings. Like, I made Everett's body with my body. It's absolutely incredible, and it's magic. I mean, it's also science, but it's also magic. We spend so much time focused on the romantic fairy tale part of motherhood that we forget, neglect, can't speak openly about the other side of the coin. The side of the coin where you don't know how you'll get through the day without vomiting, crying, or falling asleep standing up. The part of the day where you second guess your decision to become a parent, because how could anything be worth feeling like this? The side of the coin where you're certain this is now how you will feel forever. The part where you desperately need someone to recognize how fucking courageous you are for sacrificing your body, your life, yourself for this blastocyst transforming into an embryo which will hopefully become a fetus. Just me? I know it's not just me. It's that last one that's really been hanging around for me. The courage that it takes to walk back into the fire. People have been telling me since right after Everett was born that I'm going to forget about childbirth. You forget. I don't remember. You forget. I have not forgotten. I will not forget. I do have a theory on this, though. I think that, well, it's not that anyone forgets what happens during childbirth or those early weeks, postpartums, weeks, months, years of pure insanity. I think that what really happens is that we never fully form the memory. So it's not like we have a memory and we forget about it. It was never a memory. Our brains skim over it because our brain is like, that's not worth it. That's a shit show, and we don't want to hold on to this. We're just going to let that go to protect you. And there are also a lot of very important, like someone's life depends on it, things happening in that moment that your brain is prioritizing, like wake windows, feedings, how much you did or did not sleep the night before so you know how mad to be or jealous to be of your partner. Okay, so but at this point, me, as I'm entering the second trimester, and Everett is 3 years old, I still remember everything. And if you listened to episode 24 of this podcast with Patricia Lattice, which is phenomenal, you will remember that we talked about the importance of breath and your overall health. Stick with me. I know that seems like a quick change of pace. Okay. Something she shared is that 100% of pregnant people experience dysfunctional breathing patterns because of the physiological demands of pregnancy. and that our bodies remember these breathing patterns, these movement patterns, and compensatory habits that we built during previous pregnancies. So now, when she and I spoke, she did not know that I was pregnant. I was like very newly pregnant. I honestly don't even know if I'd had a positive pregnancy test result because I knew that I was pregnant before I got a positive pregnancy test. My body knew that I was pregnant. My body remembered what that was like. And so I knew this. And then she said, some women will experience the same shortness of breath of being 9 months pregnant when your body is literally full of an entire human baby and all of your organs are shoved up into your rib cage, which like compresses your lungs so you really can't get a full breath because there's just not enough internal real estate. Some women start experiencing the same shortness of breath of being 9 months pregnant at the onset of their next pregnancy because their body reacts to the hormone shifts that say pregnant and then employ the same breathing associated with pregnancy. Because it's like, oh, last time I was pregnant, I really couldn't breathe. So we'll go ahead and do that breathing pattern now because that's like the pregnant breathing pattern. Makes sense? Did your brain just explode? Because mine did when she said it. Because I'd been short of breath and I'd been feeling like tightness around my rib cage. And at that point, I did not have COVID. I checked. It felt like pregnancy, but I hadn't missed my period yet. Because my body remembers what the pregnancy deal is and hopped right to it. I did not forget pregnancy. I did not forget my childbirth experience. My body has not forgotten these things either. And this is also why my body started changing earlier in this pregnancy than it did with Everett. I also decided in this process of observing and witnessing and experiencing my body changing basically immediately, I now call this early part of pregnancy when the early stage of like the physical changes, the thickening. Because, and I think this is really funny, and I don't mean that as any sort of judgment on our bodies. I know that like, I mean, that's a whole other thing. The term when you first start feeling the baby move and the little flutters in your belly is called the quickening, which I also think is hilarious. I didn't research the origin of this, and maybe I should. But that's called the quickening. So I'm now calling this early stage the thickening because you don't have a bump. You don't look the same. You just look thicker. They say it's pregnancy bloating. Whatever. You're thicker, which can be a real mind fuck for those of us who grew up perceived as women in this country and culture where being a woman, being pretty, being accepted, being worthy means being small and thin, which we talked about more in depth in episode 26 with Megan Fitzgerald. We are taught as women to spend all of our resources, time, money, energy, discipline on being small, and then we get pregnant, and there is nothing you can do to stop your body from taking up the space it needs. And it can feel horrible. It feels horrible because when it starts, you're not supposed to tell people you're pregnant. You're not supposed to tell anyone until you're out of the first trimester and your risk of miscarriage goes down significantly. You're not supposed to tell people too early because then you may have to tell them that you lost the baby. Now, I said it filled with sarcasm, not because I have a judgment about when you decide when or when not to tell people in your life. I say it with sarcasm because now I did a reel about this using Taylor Swift's Antihero, which was a smart decision since the reel has been very, very popular. Like I think there's over 23,000 views of it. Yes, this is also your personal invitation to go view the reel and share it because why not? Anyway, no. I share this about the reel because the real reason that it's been popular is the same reason that I had that sarcastic tone of voice, is because the way that we are conditioned culturally, we need permission that we don't need to suffer in silence. Okay, now I want to say again, this is not like if you or someone you love chooses not to share the news of a pregnancy early on, I respect that. And you need to respect someone else's decision about that also. You need to respect your own decision, because someone's decision is not about you. Like, my decision isn't about you. There are hundreds and thousands of reasons why someone may choose not to share the news of their pregnancy, and that is none of your business. And there may be hundreds and thousands of reasons why someone chooses to share the news about an early pregnancy, and that is also none of your business. What is your business is protecting that person, their feelings, their experiences, and honoring the living daylights out of them. Now, for me, in my pregnancy with Everett, I suffered in silence through the first trimester. I cried every day over the fact that I hated being pregnant because I was so sick and I hated how I felt, and all I wanted to do was celebrate being pregnant, and I felt guilty that I could not celebrate because I felt so horrible and hated it. Because all I wanted was to have a baby. I divorced someone because I knew I could absolutely not have a baby with them, and other reasons, and fought like hell for myself, for what my dreams are, for the life that I want and deserve, to have a baby. And then I met Jeremy and I was like, oh, it's not just that I want to have a baby. I want to have your baby. And I wanted to love having me and Jeremy's baby. And instead I was sleeping 12 hours a day minimum, and then spending the other hours clawing my way through life to get back into bed, even though I knew and cried about the fact that sleeping wouldn't cure the exhaustion, where brushing my teeth made me puke, and the medication made it so that I could brush my teeth without puking, but still not my tongue, but made me even more tired. So this time, this pregnancy, after everything that's happened in the past 3 years, after my 4th degree tear, the postpartum anxiety, the PTSD, COVID, Lysoling my groceries, being afraid to breathe, the world shutting down, the world opening up, major negotiations with my family of origin and our relationships or lack thereof, deciding to leave Brooklyn, moving to a house in New Jersey. I had the opportunity in this pregnancy to show up for myself in a new way. After I got divorced and wrote my first one-woman show, Me Party, #ILoveMyLife, I promised myself, like Scarlett O'Hara in The Field with the Potato, I will never suffer in silence again. Because when I started telling people that I love, that are still in my life, and some people I love who are no longer in my life, when I first started telling them I'm filing for divorce, the unanimous response was, I had no idea you were unhappy. Of course they didn't. I'm not supposed to talk about that. Right? Everybody hates their husband, right? Everybody stops having sex, right? Everybody hates their life, right? No, wrong. So I made this promise that I would never suffer in silence again. And then after Everett's birth and the beginning of lockdown, I accidentally suffered in silence again a little bit. It's different this time. Right? Because this was, for me, this is a pattern. This is a trauma response. This is part of how I cope with things. And even in a way, it was part of my healing process, so that now, right, that showed me this propensity to suffer in silence, and how that I didn't want to do it. And it's happening. How do I move through that? What other tools, skills do I need to make a different decision this time? Right? So now in this pregnancy, in my first trimester, I had this incredible opportunity to show up for myself and suffer out loud. So I did. I started telling people I was pregnant as soon as I felt it. Then I confirmed that when I got a positive pregnancy test, and confirmed that again after my doctor's appointment. I felt nauseous. I felt tired, pretty fucking ragey. And I was pregnant. It was because I was pregnant. Yes, 38 years old and pregnant. So also, yes, at a higher risk for miscarriage and abnormalities and losing the pregnancy. But that doesn't negate that I was pregnant in that moment. That doesn't change it. Right now, I am pregnant. I'm not going to pretend that I'm not pregnant. I wasn't going to pretend that I wasn't pregnant. I wasn't going to pretend I felt okay. I can't pretend these things anymore. Not long term, not in real life. Now, I'm not saying I can't put on my big girl panties and show up when I need to, but I do not have to suffer in silence to protect your feelings. Your feelings are yours and mine are mine. And if I lose this pregnancy at any point, I'm going to need to talk about it. And you're not required to be here for that. You get to honor your feelings and your needs too. And if that is not good for you, you do not have to be here for that. That can also exist separately from you wanting to support me. And I can take the space that I need for me and my feelings. Now, again, this is how I feel about this for myself, right? That I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to tell you. This does not mean you feel this way. And I support that. I support you for making your right decision. And this is what I get really heated, pissed about, is you or me suffering in silence because we aren't supposed to say anything. That's the part that I hate. Not saying something because you're not supposed to is different than I'm not going to say anything because I am so scared that I don't have space for anyone else's feelings about it. I can't even see the reaction on their face is too much for me to handle. I support the crap out of you for that. And I have felt that way in other instances. And also, there are some people I didn't tell for a while for that exact reason. I was like, you're going to have a lot of feelings about this. And I feel like too much shit to handle any of yours. Good, bad, doesn't matter. It's the assumed you're not allowed that I think is trash. Now, what was also relieving to me was that since I was already telling people that I was pregnant, when the thickening started, I didn't have to feel awkward and get all up in my head about people looking at my body and checking me out. Because listen, I wear a lot of tight clothes. I teach Pilates. I take dance class. I'm a woman. And we're all checking each other out. And any insecurity I had or have or will have got to take a rest because I'm pregnant. So it's okay, I'm in a bigger body, right? Right? What the fuck is that? Right? As I was thinking about this, because listen, people do check out my body and I see it and I have my own thoughts about it. And also like, this is my body. That's a fact, right? And it is the product of genetics and the things I do and have done with my body over the course of my life, right? Great. But this thought process of like, oh, I can see she's noticing that I'm in a bigger body right now. It's okay because I'm pregnant. Oh my God. This is me right now with you, right here together, me calling myself out on internalized beliefs about my own body. Because I don't put this thinking onto somebody else's body. I really, really don't. Yet I hold myself to this like other standard. And listen, some of that could be because I spent 35 years in a very small body as a result of a professional dance and Pilates career paired with genetics for a small body. My mom is a very small human. So there's definitely a body that I am used to seeing that when I see, it's me, right? That looks like me to me. There is that. And we are all carrying around some very heavy internalized fat phobia. We are. I'm saying it. You know it. And knowing that this is a fact, knowing that you have this thinking inside your brain, isn't a problem. It's part of the solution. Just like if you were to say racism isn't real, anti-Semitism isn't real, that's part of the problem. Acknowledging, recognizing, and starting to question these internalized beliefs, these internalized agreements is part of the solution. And talking about it, me saying this right now to you talking about this with your people, owning your piece of the pie, which was served to you, right, is also an important part of the solution. So I've been spending some time with these thoughts in my brain that it's okay I have a belly now. It's okay my thighs are getting thicker and my butt is bigger. It's okay that I want ice cream because I'm pregnant so I can have a big body. Well, Alyssa and you, I can have a bigger body. You can have a bigger body anytime. In addition to body size and image, this type of thinking is also coming up for me around rest. It's okay for me to nap because I'm pregnant. I need rest for the baby. News flash, Alyssa Jill. You need rest, period. You need, deserve, and get to rest when you're pregnant and when you are not pregnant. My internal roadrunner, workaholic tendencies are rearing their cutie little heads right now, which gives me an opportunity to spend time with them. I'm not punishing myself for these beliefs and ideals, right, that are coming up, because that doesn't move the needle. Instead of pushing through and plowing them over or trying to punish myself over them or tell me I'm not a bad person. Instead of getting sucked into that vortex, I'm slowing down and spending time with them. I'm asking questions. I'm getting to know these parts of myself and figuring out where these thoughts and ideals and beliefs and where it's all coming from, and trying to discover the root cause, because that is where we heal. We can treat symptoms until we are blue in the face. And sure, it will relieve some pain and discomfort, but we will not move the needle. We will not make any forward progress until we treat the root cause. And the more I work with women, the more I talk about everything, the more I write about everything, I'm finding that a root of our suffering is silence. That suffering in silence again, our individual and collective silence. Silence, the noun, means complete absence of sound. Silence, the verb, means to prohibit or prevent from speaking. These two definitions feel evocative to me. How do they feel to you? What do you feel in your body? What is the first thing that comes into your mind or into your body when I say silence, the noun, means complete absence of sound? Silence, the verb, means to prohibit or prevent from speaking. For me, it brings up the feeling, the invisibility of screaming into the void. I can feel I think of and feel the dreams that I have where I'm screaming to be heard and no one is reacting. Have you ever had that dream? I have. Most notably, I've had these dreams involving my ex-husband and involving my dad. And if you are looking for a little peek into what I talk about in therapy, you're welcome. There it is. And as I'm thinking about this, there's something about considering silence that also feels connected to the day that this airs is the last night of Hanukkah. And I feel like there's a connection. Maybe it's the absence of sound, the absence of light. Now, Hanukkah is not Jewish Christmas. And Hanukkah does celebrate the miracle of light, as oil that was supposed to only last one night miraculously lasted for 8 nights to keep the sacred eternal flame aglow after the destruction of the Jewish temple. Okay, that part's not really the connection. Hanukkah is celebrated on the Hebrew date of the 25th of Kislev. Kislev is the darkest month of the calendar year. Coincides with December, the winter solstice, right? Like the shortest day of the year. The nights are long and the days are short. And on Hanukkah, we celebrate light. The menorah gives us light in the darkness to lead the way. Now, I may be getting a little woo here. Maybe I'm getting a lot woo here. Maybe it's the hormones. But I also think there is something truly poetic about the light in the darkness and the power of your voice within the silence. I recently read a poem by a brilliant poet named Lizzie Harris. Fun fact, I know Lizzie. She enthusiastically scooped me into a giant hug when we first met on the sidewalk in Park Slope shortly after I started dating Jeremy. She was so excited to meet me, and I felt so welcomed in her sincere warmth. I later learned that the reason Jeremy is so close to her is because she's best friends with his ex-girlfriend. Plot twist. Now, that had nothing to do with the poem or this podcast episode and what we're talking about. But it's an aside about how dating and exes and things always don't have to be as cliched as you expected. And also, I feel like it gives just a little bit of a window into the human being that Lizzie is. She is brilliant. She is warm. She is loving. She is insightful. And this poem gutted me in a way that left me breathless and actually in tears. It felt like a punch in the gut that I'd been waiting for. And I know that sounds weird, but her language, the structure of the poem and the content reached deep inside me and unlocked something or put something into place that I really needed. So I'm going to read the poem to you. It's called Law of the Body. She who never wanted children, who took pills not to have them, who took pills when she feared she would, she who waited for the right job, the right partner, the right moment to even open to the idea of them, she who carried them, whose organs went two-dimensional to make space, who grew a new organ, whose own body bowed to the needs of the idea of something, she who vomited every day for 11 weeks, who traveled with sour candies in a bag until her tongue bled, she who bled calmly on the phone with her doctor, she who slept on the floor of an empty office, she who lowered her doses of all the medicines that make her want to live in the first place. She who fed the body that fed, the body on nothing but raw corn and vitamins. She who grew 40 pounds and carried it to and from the bus to the subway to the walk to work and back again. She who took a course on labor and labored for days. She who heard the nurse say, perhaps she has a low tolerance for pain, and thought back to when a mirror shattered her body and her father, unsure of how to stop the bleeding, put her in 2 pairs of sweatpants until they soaked through. She who knows punishment is always a negotiation of tolerance. She who lost consciousness when the epidural did its job too well, who stomached 3 shots of ephedrine to breathe again so the child inside could breathe again. She who they raced into surgery, whose abdomen was sawed through and stitched up. She who held the baby covered in her insides. Who itched for days with withdrawal, who loved the baby instantly, who fed the baby until she passed out, who gave up sleep and time and mind and heart. She who gave so generously of her body over and over, only to have them say it was never hers to give. Whew. This poem was published December 5th of 2022 in The New Yorker. Again, it's called Law of the Body. There's a link to this in the show notes and a link to learn more about Lizzie and her work. I think it's apparent that I have a lot of feels about this poem. But before we dive into that and my thoughts and feelings and reactions, I want to give you a moment and reflect on yours. What do you feel in your body? What thoughts are you having right now? Memories, people, places, things, I guess nouns in general, adjectives, verbs too. Senses, sense, taste, textures. Take a moment, take a breath, and notice. I'm still working out how best to articulate what it is exactly about this piece that gets me so good. And at this time, I think it's again the invisibility of the experience. The invisibility of what we do. And that something being invisible doesn't mean it's not huge. Now, I know that my birth experience with Everett isn't the norm. It does not happen to so many people. And I also that I am by far not the only woman who felt traumatized, invisible, and or disregarded after giving birth. It's estimated that 1/3 of women describe their experience as traumatic. And I'm guessing the real number is higher, but listen, I could be wrong. I always wanted to have my children closer together. And obviously, things don't always go according to plan, right? I never thought I'd leave musical theater, get divorced, have my asshole torn into, move to New Jersey, yet here we are. I never thought I'd question whether or not I'd have more than one baby. But when the 18-month mark came after Everett, right? So he was 18 months, came and went, and I'd always planned on being or getting pregnant by Everett's 2nd birthday. I realized I didn't know if I could do it all again. While I made a full physical recovery, I couldn't tolerate the idea of giving birth again. I panicked every time someone asked or made a joke about Everett being a big brother. On Myth of Motherhood, I have a podcast episode about why we need to stop asking people when they're going to have a baby, which is about my experience with reconciling this. Because every time someone asked me that kind of question, I felt completely invisible. I felt ignored, disregarded, and omitted from the equation. Where was the conversation about what we are asking of women, of me, of my body and my life? And I don't mean for the whole conversation to be wholly on this side of the coin and ignore how much I wanted to have another baby and to feel the baby move inside me, even though it would also mean sleepless nights and burning reflux. The magic is there too. But what about the conversation about stepping back into the fire? And what I've mourned a lot this first trimester is the knowledge of what I'm offering up for sacrifice with the creation and then birth of this new baby. I am offering all of myself. Again, the life, the body, the work that were sewn together the past 3 years will be offered up as sacrifice to this new life, baby, and family. And I don't know which pieces or parts I will get back. I will surrender to this evolution and transformation and see what comes back to me. And from there, I will sew something new with what's left and add pieces and parts that I currently don't know about. Now, last time with Everett, I had ignorance on my side, so I could live in that magical side of the coin that was all excitement and possibility and potential, which is still definitely part of the equation here. It's just that it's not the only part. And this time, I know that. I know what the other side looks like. which is definitely coloring outside the lines of my pregnancy experience this time. And I know it is also preparing me for the wild adjustment to life with multiple kids. A new life sewn together from broken pieces mixed with new pieces, creating something different than anything I've ever created before. When I was going through divorce, I couldn't see the other side. My life, my world was completely crumbling around me, and I didn't know that there even was another side, let alone to trust that I'd make it there. But I did. And life opened up like when Dorothy arrives in Munchkinland. It was Technicolor. So when my world was torn apart again after giving birth to Everett, where I was literally torn apart, I knew there was another side. I knew I could find a way to get there, and I knew that I would. I knew there would be colors I'd never seen before. And I'm leaning into that knowledge, that trust, that I will make it there again. I'm using sense memory. I'm surrendering and taking so many deep breaths to connect to that inner knowing, to the deep trust that my vagina will only point me where I need to go, even if the road is bumpy.
Thank you so much for sharing your time with me and listening to the end of this episode. Look at you. You're someone who finishes what they start. I love that about you. And if you're picking up what I'm laying down, be sure to visit me over at alissaalter.com for more resources on how you can alter your life, like downloading the 5-minute meditation that I use to start my day with confidence and ease, all before getting out of bed. See you next week.